Hey, what's up, everybody? And in this week's podcast, I'm going to be talking to you all about Book 2 in the Tiger's Curse series, Tiger's Quest. Okay, so before I get into talking about favorite parts of the story and stuff like that, I'm going to read you all the synopsis, although, spoiler alert, again, spoiler alert, just in case. Faith, trust, desire. How far would you go to free the one you love? Kelsey Hayes' 18th summer was crazy. The kind of crazy that nobody would ever believe. Aside from battling immortal sea monkeys and trekking the jungles of India, she fell in love with Rin, a 300-year-old prince. When danger suddenly forces Kelsey on another Indian quest with Rin's bad boy brother Kishan, the unlikely duo begins to question their true destiny. Rin's life hangs in the balance, and so does the truth within Kelsey's heart. Tiger's Quest, the thrilling second volume in the Tiger's Curse series, brings the trio one step closer to breaking the ancient prophecy that binds them. Okay, guys, honestly, if you liked the first book, you'll more than likely want to read the second book just because of how the first book, was. And if this synopsis for this book doesn't get you want to read it, I don't know what the heck will. But anyway, on to me telling you all about my favorite parts about the book and about the book entirely. Okay, so spoiler alert here. This podcast would be filled with spoilers. If you've not read the first book, Tiger's Curse, do not listen to this podcast. You've been warned. Okay, so we all know what happened in the end of the first book. Kelsey left, and I'm still mad about that. Still mad. And Rin, brokenhearted, So she goes back to her hometown and goes to college, tries to live a normal life, but with the financial help of Anik, who bought her an apartment and bought her books and her school expenses and signed her up for self-defense classes and gave her a credit card that has a buttload of money on it. Can I please have someone do that for me? I mean, guys, seriously. Anyway, so she tries to live a normal 18-year-old's life. And, she's going to college, doing school. She doesn't have to do a job now, considering everything's paid for. So, she has some time to kill. So she starts dating, trying to forget about Rin and, how brokenhearted she was, because it wasn't easy for her either to go. But we all know why. So, but then time goes on, chapters go on. Trust me, it's long. And she, goes on dates with other guys, but, she kind of realizes that she's still thinking about Ren. But, so then, it starts going throughout the months, I'm talking months go on, and then it's Christmas! Yay! And she's at her adoptive parents' house in the morning, and the doorbell rings. And she says, and then she says that she'll go get it. And she, and she goes to answer it and opens the door, and take a guess who's standing there. You probably guessed it. It's Ren. And somehow he knows how to drive now, so apparently he took the months being away from her to learn new things about the new world and all that stuff. So yeah, so, like, okay, so, like, fast forwarding, the gist of what happens is that, they live next to each other. Her apartment has another apartment attached to it. So, and it's connected by one door. And I'm guessing you could lock it on either side if you didn't want the other person going in, which would be kind of stupid if it wasn't. So I'm kind of taking a guess it is. So, but, so she goes home after going to her adoptive parents' place, and she sees that there's a car in front of it, and she's like, oh, well, hey, I guess someone is moving in. So she goes in, goes knock on the door, and then she sees that it's Ren. So she goes over to her place, waits for him, and he knocks on the door. She tells him to come on in. He comes in, and he starts telling her that over the months he wanted to talk to her every single week whenever she would call Anik, but he wanted to give her space like she wanted. So every single time he would be listening in on their phone calls, praying that she would ask to speak to him, but she never did. So during training in both tiger form and man form, him and Kishan, or Kishan, however you want to pronounce it, they would fight, but he wouldn't block his punches or anything. He just let him do it. So finally, they all convinced him to wait it out, give her some space. But then he went. And obviously. So, but then said that, that he then tells her that I am willing, I'm okay with being friends if that's what you want. But please don't ask me to be away from you because I can't. So, that's sweet. That's like ridiculously sweet. But okay, so time goes on and they aren't, they're just friends, so they aren't dating, and she's dating. Rin has girls going after him, and Rin is like totally overprotective of her, because he doesn't know a lot of guys, especially where she is, because he'd never been there before, except in tiger form and a circus, but that's beside the point. So during her self-defense class, she was a sparring partner to the owner's nephew, I believe, and she watched as Ren was doing something else, was like sparring with another person, and she wasn't watching her opponent, and he flipped her and put her on her back, but he was expecting her to do something to defend herself in self-defense classes. And he was just like apologizing profusely, and then Rin, having tiger strength, picks the guy up and throws him across the room like a rag doll. And, then Rin starts getting really mad and saying that he should have been more careful, and she's like, it's a self-defense class. I was just, it's supposed to be like this. And he's like, still. So, but then time goes on. Spoiler alert, like I said, they do end up getting together. And this one guy whom Kelsey dated early on in the book, who's a real jerk. I hate him. He was, trying to get her to go on a date with Rin right there. And being really rude and, basically like calling her stupid in a way. And, that kind of ticked Ren off, so he got like inches away from the guy's face and was like threatening him. And if that guy knew what Ren could do, he probably would have like ran away, honestly. I mean, come on. So, but then book goes on and Lokish is still trying to find her. But they're worried because Kelsey went on a date before her and Ren started dating again. Kelsey went on a date with her instructor from her self-defense class. And they go on a date, and she sees this old lady about to get run over by a car. So she runs over and pushes the old lady out of the way, but her foot got caught in like a hole or something, like a dip in the pavement, and the car hit her and she fell down, but the car stopped. So she only got like a slight bruise. And so picture taken, about how like, oh yay, she saved the old lady. Yay. So but then that sent that set up a red flag for them, because then Lokish could find her. Because with today's technology, even though this book came out in like 2014, even back then, technology, he used it to find her. Because everything that Anik had set up for her for money and school, it all went back to dummy accounts and stuff like that. It's where he couldn't track her at all. So, but then that one picture sent him a map to go find her. So Rin has his brother come out to help them, to help him keep an eye on her, and that causes some trouble. So, but then book is on, and they are running, like legit running, because Lokish had found them. There's like dozens and dozens of guys just chasing them through these woods behind their apartment complex. And Kishin goes in tiger form and scouts. And while Ren puts Kelsey in like a huge hole in a tree, he puts her in there, and then he gets in it. So then if anything happened, he would get hit, because self-healing and everything. So but time goes on, and they go out, they go try to get to the car that's parked at the bottom of this hill. And of course, these guys with like tranquilizer darts start shooting it at Ren and his brother. And they are like filled with the stuff to knock him out. Like it and it's like tenfold. So because they're tigers and cursed and stuff like that. So like they're really hard to take down. So they just keep like shooting these things at him, and like they're trying to protect her, and she's trying to protect them, and it's like, oh, shut up already. So, but finally, Ren actually goes down on his knees because he can't take it anymore. Kelsey steps in front of him, tries to use her newfound powers to try to save him, but like I said, her newfound powers, so she's not she's not used to them yet. She doesn't know how they work. So she like starts like getting hit too, and because she doesn't have self-healing, it's really affecting her. So Ren like knocks this guy off of her, picks her up, puts her in her brother's arms, and says, "Take her and go." And then he morphs into tiger form and starts fighting these guys off. So Kishin and Kelsey can make it to the car, and then they're gonna go back to India. And Kelsey's like fighting, passing out, and the last thing she heard was Ren's roar before she passed out. You know, he was captured. You know he was. So, yeah, guys, sorry to end on like a huge cliffhanger, but I'm kind of hoping I helped you all out with wanting to decide to read this book. It is pretty amazing. Okay, yeah, guys, so that's it for today's podcast. Next week, I will be talking to you all about Tiger's Voyage, Book 3 in the Tiger's Curse series. I cannot wait because that book, it is good. It is also the thickest of the 4 books. But anyway, guys, I hope you all enjoyed this podcast. Please like, comment, and subscribe. That'd be amazing, and I'll talk to you all again next week. Bye, guys!